Hey, my hidden human story seekers. I just want to talk a little bit about how I feel about things, where I'm at. When I started this back in 2010, getting online, writing books, so many things have changed. I think a lot of people are burnt out with social media, content. There's been a lot of censorship. People are not reading blogs or going to websites as much. They want quick answers and that's it. So that leaves me in a situation of where do I go from here? And what I find interesting is I've been presenting to the public for 16 years, since 2010, and I did about 15 years of research prior. Doing book clubs, reading books, practicing my writing skills. So I've been at this for 31 years. And I've dealt with a lot of censorship and a lot of blocking and trolls just to get out what I found. And what I have found is amazing. And by now I should be a household name. Yeah, I said that. But I'm not. And I feel I've been purposely held down. And I have seen parts of my work stolen. I've had people actually rip off pictures and text from my old blogs and put it on theirs, pretending they did the research. I've seen some of my Lovelock Cave videos chopped down and put on a TikTok site without permission. And I'm never credited. Like, they won't even say this came from here. And it's disappointing at this point, but I'm not going to quit. And what I have seen happen is, besides the incredible amounts of censorship, is just absolute nonsense being put out for this community or seekers. One of them is the Tartaria stuff. Boy, does that annoy me. That is basically touching on some kind of truth, because I do believe there were a lot of Europeans in the Americas prior to 1492 that they prevent you from finding out about. Lovelock Cave is one of them, one of those cases. And they mix, so there'll be different genetics in that area. But there's certainly other things, such as the Wabunzi stone that was found in Chicago that resembles the Crown Croc statues in Ireland, which means the Druids were in Chicago. And I've touched on this in my books and documentaries, and I just spent 5 years of my life getting a master's in anthropology, and it was tough. There's a lot of politics, and I've thought about going further. I'm a little bit hesitant because there's a huge push to get rid of any of the remains in storage, so you'll never be able to get at them. And the laws have really been written to prevent any modern day examination. So they're basically not only getting rid of evidence from the Smithsonian, but all of the universities and museums that you don't really realize have remains and artifacts. They're dumping them. They're getting rid of them quick. And as an anthropologist, it's going to be harder and harder to get access to that. The laws have to change. So I'm rethinking my energies. But what I find probably sad the most is there's, a forced demographics change. There's control of the educational system. There's all of the things going on, the wars. And we've really lost, all of us on this planet have lost our true history, our true origins, our true memory. And what I have recovered goes back at least 12,000, if not longer, years ago. And People can argue, oh, it's just written in the books, but I'll argue it was the memory of people that were turned into gods and eventually turned into God. And what I find so disappointing is the books are out there. It just takes a lot of work and scholarship to show how the memory of these people that I call the Cronides related to Zeus, and that we don't even know what his real name was. Zeus, I think, means like sky. They call him Despot or Sky Father. And we don't even know what his real name was, but his story is in so many books. Our true history is in so many books. We have, 3 or 4 or 5 different major sources, such as the Loeb Library, the Dumbarton Oaks Library, the Toddy Library, the British Library, even Penguin Classics. It's there. And then there's all the individual books on Nordic history, Irish history, Mesoamerican history or mythology, if you would. All of the Asian countries, India, Hinduism. These are the books that I have read and studied and compared and created my mythological unification theory. But the public doesn't really know about it on any large scale. Now, if you're my follower, you're a fellow seeker, and you've been with me for a while, you got it. You're one of the lucky ones that got the hidden truth that goes back 12,000 years, if not more. What happened before that? That's a whole nother story. Why were they doing advanced cave paintings 35,000 years ago all over Europe? What happened between 35,000 years and 12,000 years? We don't even know. Why were all these gods said to have flying crafts? We don't even know. So I have dug and dug for 31 years of my life. I'm not going to quit, but I'm definitely disappointed, and I don't know how to crack this nut on a larger scale in the way that it should be. And where I'm at right now is I feel I need to polish things. I need to set up an oasis for people that are seeking. So when I'm gone, it's there. And I've written 20 books on this hidden human story, plus other books on different things. And I've done websites and the YouTube, and I'll probably have to do a TikTok channel eventually. I've done all the social media. I've done a couple conference talks. I've done a couple interviews, but it's hard. And the whole landscape of the internet has changed. And there's a lot of jealousy and competition in this community, which, to me, it's just a pain. And I also think with women, they don't really give a lot of serious credibility to, other than maybe Linda Moulton Howe. But I'm not going to quit. But I have to figure out a different way besides the internet world after I set up my oasis to really get the public interested. And the other thing is just the amount of nonsense, like this Tartaria thing. Oh, they added 1,000 years to the calendar. Well, they did, make some changes. We know, from the Julian to the Gregorian, but not 1,000 years. And there are books that are out there from the medieval ages to the Renaissance that prove that. And it's called the Byzantine Empire that was running a lot of things. But people don't read books. And they're not properly taught in the schools anymore. And there's a definite emphasis on erasing European history as well as other people's history. Like they, nothing about much of the African or Asian or the Native Americans, for that fact. Their story keeps changing, and the stuff that they said 100 or 200 years ago now, none of that's true. Well, I think it was true. But, it's disregarded. So it just takes a lot of work and scholarship. But it has to be out there. And people have to start critically thinking and doing research and questioning these jokers who are just telling you nonsense. And I know it's hard because I've been censored. I've had warnings about some of the things I've put out on my channel. If I didn't remove it, I would lose my channel. So I had to take a break for a bit. The other thing that's going on is the AI channels. And there's a lot of them on mythology. And it's not even the person creating the channel. It's all AI voice, AI graphics. And they even have channels about telling you about mythology to help you fall asleep. I mean, that is just ridiculous. You should be at attention with this stuff. It is what I've told everybody is a connector from 12,000 years ago until today, and that it's the mythologies are the core of religion. Semitic religion, even Hinduism and paganism, recycled mythology. And they're based on Zeus and Cronus. That's why they say Saturn cults, because Cronus is associated with Saturn, and Zeus is associated with Jupiter. And I am the only one that I have found that has connected all of these mythologies around the world to this family, and I've connected it to modern day religion. Now, in my research, because I never quit, I have found a couple books of people back 2,000 years ago and one person in the medieval era, medieval ages, that realized that the people in mythology probably were real kings and that their story evolved into mythology. There's 2 books that I'm working on getting that I'm going to explore on that. But they couldn't connect it to modern day religion as I have. And, society, humanity has been bamboozled with all of these modern day religions and erasure. And my goal before I die is to overturn that so the whole world knows. I just don't think I can do it solely on the internet. So I will continue to create, clean up, and tone up what I have. But I have to think of a different way to break this ice. So thank you for listening. Stay with me and stay curious. Thank you.